Hello everyone, this is Jessica from a Diamond and Sticks YouTube channel, and I figured I would do my review or my opinions or whatever on this most recent TV series I watched. It's called The American Murder. It's the Gabby Petito series on Netflix. It's about her murder, and it only has 3 episodes to it. So I would recommend y'all to watch it. I remember when this was taking place back in 2021. I followed the case when this was going on, and it's a really tragic, sad story. And her boyfriend or fiance ended up murdering her or unaliving her or whatever. And in the past, by having domestic violence, I don't, it's a real trigger warning series or whatever, real emotional series. And I know from experience, I'm not saying I'm like 100% innocent on anything, and I'm trying not to get emotional, and I'm trying not to make this a long video. But most of the time, from my experiences, and I stayed in a domestic violence shelter, women's shelter, for like 3 days back in 2005. And I had gotten a domestic violence dispute with my ex-husband and his family in my house here back when my oldest daughter was just alive, and she was about 15 months old. And what had happened is I wasn't working at the time, and I'd only had my oldest daughter at the time. And truth be known, we never needed to be together anyways. It's just the way it is. It is what it is. Life is what it is, or whatever. But because we always fought, and we got physical with each other after probably a couple years of dating. But we was always verbally physical and emotional abuse of and stuff with each other. And so we really didn't even need to get married in the first place, but we did. It is what it is. There's all kinds of people in this world that does not need to be together. And my parents are another people who didn't need to be together and get married and have children. But it is what it is. That's just my opinion. Anyways, I never got to leave the house back in 2005. I was always stranded here, and I was probably going through postpartum a little bit. And so I always looked forward to going grocery shopping and stuff. And I never got to go out to eat or go on dates. We never did do any of that. Even before, when we was just dating, we've we never have had those privileges or whatever as a couple. And anyways, anytime that we would go out to eat or whatever, it was always with his family and always with his sister and his mom and dad. They would bring the whole family all the time, and they always showed up too back then. You know, that was my first time of being a mom, and I really didn't know how to be a mom. I never knew nothing about children or babies or anything. And I tried to keep my house clean, but I was a new mom too, and I was having to clean up after the house and then my new baby, and then plus on top of it, my ex-husband. And that's having a ex-husband or a man like that in your life. It's just like having another child. if they're spoilt and stuff like he was and is or whatever, and lazy and stuff like he is and was or whatever. And so I couldn't keep it up, and especially up to his mother's standards, even though they lived in a different county than what I did. She was very OCD, and she still is. She's very OCD. And and then her husband had a real good paying job back then. He worked in the coal mines, so he had a real good paying job. And my ex husband has never had a good paying job, ever. So he still has the same job that he had the day that my oldest daughter, was born. And he's just now making like $11 an hour, so that should tell you something. Anyways, though, his mom is a real beautiful woman on the outside, in my opinion. But since I've had water underneath the bridges with them, I don't think his mom or his sisters, beautiful women on the inside. A lot of people would take up for them and disagree, but I'm just going by my life and my dealings and my experiences with them. They're both beautiful women on the outside, especially his sister when she puts makeup on and stuff, being all fake and stuff, in my opinion. But in my opinion, they're not good people, or at least they wasn't to me and stuff, in my experiences with them. So, anyways, his mom would always like agitate me and rub it in every time she would come over. She'd just make little comments about my house not being clean enough. I wasn't taking care of my baby the right way. I was being neglectful to my baby, neglectful to my house, neglectful to him, that I wasn't cooking for him or whatever and cleaning up after him good enough or whatever, just always making comments. And then, too, about the way I looked, how I had gained weight and how fat I was, and then also from having a baby, and then also about my breast back then when I still had my breast, that I never, ever since the day that my oldest daughter was born, she was always making fun of my breasts, like one was bigger than the other, or the baby was going to starve to death because it wasn't going to get enough to eat, or this and that and the other, and so his mom was so bad about that. And his sister would just tag along and say the same stuff. Well, his sister back then, her ex-husband, his family are pretty much multimillionaires. They have a business of their own, a floral shop business. And then on top of it too, her ex-husband was actually willing to work a man's type job in the coal mines back then when the coal mines was running. And he was actually a boss, so he made good money. And so every time that they would come over here, it was just kind of like a field day for them. They would always come over here, even my late neighbor, which she's passed on by now. But anyways, she passed away back in 2015. This happened in 2005. But she would always make comments to me and ask me about it, like how it was always strange, how all the time they would come over here, because when my first daughter was born, they would come over here all the time, every single weekend, every single day of the week that they could, they would be over here as soon as my first daughter was born, up until she was like probably about 2 or 3 years old. They was coming over here all the time. And I know a lot of y'all is probably like, oh, well, that would be so wonderful to have someone to show love and affection for your child and stuff like that. But that's just not what I experienced. That was not my case or nothing. Anyways, whenever they would come over here, they would always come over here in the evening time, especially when it would start getting dark, or whenever I would be having like supper made. That's most of the time when they would come over here. And she's still like this to this day. Both of them are, his sister and his mom, but they always have to have their hair, makeup done, new clothes for every time they turn around, a new outfit on to go somewhere in. Well, I had to suffer because I didn't have those even back then. I never had once I got married, I did not live the same lifestyle that I did growing up. That was completely changed. And financially, I was neglected and I wasn't took care of. And neither was neither one of my children or whatever. But anyways, every time they came over here, they would just make comments and just giggle and laugh and just kind of like throw it in your face or whatever. That it wasn't good enough. I'm sorry, guys. I gotta take a break.